Hey, what's up? It's Tati and I'm back with another video. It's a new year. I just turned 32 the other day and I am so excited. One of my New Year's resolution is to talk more about the current product rather than reviewing things about the past. And one thing that I'm really into lately is AEW. I watched them religiously, so definitely watch Dark, Elevation, Dynamite, and Rampage, and any pay-per-view they got going on right now. I think that they're doing a really great job, and to start the new year they have started really well with their products. Matter of fact, I think last night I saw probably the best match of 2023 so far, even though we're just 12 days in the new year. Bryan Danielson versus Konosuke Takeshita was absolutely amazing. I loved it. So let's get into what happened on AEW Dynamite last night. So we started the night off with Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page, which I was really surprised I started off with. I was cooking, so I was trying to rush what I was doing so I could see what happened, but I didn't get a chance to see every moment of the match. But it was a very physical match. These guys have been beefing for quite some time, and they finally got a chance to meet each other in the ring. And to be completely honest, I was very surprised to see Moxley lose this match. This is the first time he's actually lost clean in a one-on-one match since CM Punk, he lost the title from when CM Punk got the title from him. So that's been quite some time, and it makes me wonder, like, is Mox finally going on that much needed deserved vacation? I don't know if that's what's going to happen here, but at the end they were making it seem like he was badly injured and that he needed medical attention, and they ended up taking him to the back and providing him with medical attention. So not sure what's going on with that, but if he were to go away for a while, that would actually be pretty good for him, since he has been working really hard. I saw a list of matches that he had in 2022, and he's probably the wrestler that had the most matches of 2022. He's been working really hard, and from someone coming from those type of demons that he had, as with alcoholism, and now he has turned his life around and had a tremendous year last year. He deserves that break, so if he gets that, that's pretty awesome. So let's move on to what happened to the rest of the show. After that match, we had Tony Schiavone come out talking about he has the unfortunate pleasure to announce this next person to come out. Was really surprised to see that it was Adam Cole. He came out talking about he had good news and bad news, and I think everyone was suspecting more that there were bad news, since he was talking a little bit at length about his injuries and what he had to go through. And now basically his bad news is that for everybody in the back, he's back and he will run through that whole locker room, so everybody should take notice. It's great to hear that he's coming back after a crazy injury and having those concussions and having those types of issues that comes with a concussion. Hopefully he'll be able to really make his mark in AEW, which I feel like he hasn't done at all. You do know that Kyle Riley is also out with an injury as well, and they're saying that things are not looking good, but they said the same thing for Adam Cole as well. So who knows, these guys might end up coming back in the long run. But for now, I think Adam, once he comes back, he can really do something as a singles competitor and show how he is as a wrestler and an athlete, something that I feel like obviously was not taken advantage of when he was in WWE. So after that, we have Hook and Jungle Boy versus what's his name, Bill, right? Big Bill and Lee Moriarty. Now I like Big Bill, I like Lee Moriarty. Lee Moriarty is one of those guys I feel like it's taken a while for him to get where he needs to go, but he's really great in the ring. It's just gonna take some time for that push. But anyway, it was really interesting to see Hook being in a tag team match. Now, we have seen him in a tag team match twice, and that was having a partner, Action Bronson, and also another time with Danhausen. Now, I'm not going to say that those two don't count, but it's not the same. These two guys don't have what Jungle Boy has, so I was really interested to see how they would, you know, be partners in the ring. And actually it was pretty well, and I think Hook did a really good job. I do see them actually, you know, being partners again, probably really near future. But this was a really great match, and I think everyone had a time to shine during this match. Overall, it was a really great night for Dynamite. I probably would give it like a 9 out of 10. Everything was spot on. There were a few little hiccups here and there, but that's just me being nitpicky. On to the match of the night, which was Bryan Danielson versus Konosuke Takeshita. And you guys, I was absolutely happy about how this match went. Exactly how I expected is exactly what happened. Before the match, after Takeshita came out, we did have MJF coming out talking shit like he normally does, making fun of Takeshita, whatnot. And after Takeshita tells him that he would kick his ass, he told him that he had to leave the ring unless he wanted to get fined, and Aubrey Edwards made Takeshita get out the ring, which was a little bit awkward because it was like, well, you're not Tony Khan, what you mean he gonna get fined? But anyway, he finished talking shit or whatever, and then comes Bryan Danielson, and he runs out like a little pig and goes to the back. So now on to the best part. These two, oh my god, exactly what I expected is what we got. It was very arousing for me. I absolutely love this match. It's just, I'm gonna say, my favorite match of the year so far. We're only 12 days in, but even after watching Wrestle Kingdom 17, yes, I watched it at 3 a.m. Fell asleep the second I saw Kenny Omega, which was very disappointing because that's what I wanted to see. The two last matches, I fell asleep and I ended up waking up seeing Okada with the belt in his hand. I couldn't even believe it. But anyway, we're not talking about that. Now, last night the match was absolutely great. Now, these two really gave it their all. The crowd was absolutely loving it and really getting behind these two, cheering for both of these guys. Obviously, knowing what we know, Bryan has to win in order to get his title shot with MJF for the Iron Man match. So everybody's going to want him to win for that reason. However, people really behind Takeshita because he's absolutely amazing in the ring, especially for a young guy. He really knows what he's doing. Now, I really agreed with how they ended up ending this match, which was via submission rather than a pinfall. So this leaves the door open for them to go against each other later on in the future. Absolutely A++. Loved it very much. So after that match, we had Juice Robinson backstage, and he wants a title shot for the TNT title against Darby Allin on Rampage. First of all, I am excited to see that match, but I don't see Juice winning that at all because we haven't really gotten a chance to see much of him in AEW. For those who follow his career outside of AEW, probably want to see him win this title, but for what he's done in AEW, we haven't really seen him that much. I can only think of a handful of times that I've actually remember seeing him, but I would be surprised. Now, it would be upsetting if he were to win that title. I think that would be a really big surprise and probably unpredictable, and to be honest, I would be okay with seeing something that is not predictable. So then we have the ladies tag team match. So it is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Jamie Hayter versus Saraya and Toni Storm. Now, this was another great match. Now, I did say I would rate the show a 9 out of 10, and one of the reasons is I did feel like at times Saraya was okay. So I think she did great. However, when it comes to wrestling, the most important part to me is the wrestling. So I do pay attention to little things, and at times I feel like there's definitely a difference between doing a singles match and a tag team match. When you're doing singles match, you're constantly active. When you're doing a tag team match, you're on the corner waiting for your partner to tag you in. And there are those instances where you're not in the corner and you have to be doing something, and at times I felt like she was a little lost and needed direction from the other girls. But she hasn't wrestled for a long time, so I think it's going to take a while for her to really get comfortable and used to being in the ring. So those are little things that I picked up. Maybe I'm just being a little too picky, but I do feel like people are going to be very critical of her returning back in the ring, and that's one of those things that I did notice. Now, this was a great match, and they continued their storyline with Hikaru Shida obviously being salty that she didn't get picked to be part of this match. She did come out during this match, and she came out with a kendo stick. And towards the end of the match, we had Britt Baker and we had Toni Storm both laying down in the middle of the ring, and Hikaru throws the kendo stick in between both girls right in the middle, and Britt ends up waking up, taking that kendo stick and attacking Toni with it while referee was magically not paying attention. So they end up taking the win. Now, I found it interesting that she threw it in between those girls rather than putting it on the opposite side of Toni. So now it looks more like she was trying to give it to Britt, or giving the opportunity for Britt to take it rather than Toni. So it'll be interesting to see where they're going with this storyline. I don't think we'll be seeing Saraya in the ring for maybe another few more weeks, and that's okay. She does need some time to really get used to it. So after that, we have Eddie Kingston and Ortiz cutting a promo backstage. They want House of Black on Rampage. Now, they've been playing mind games with them, and now these two are beefing with each other, Kingston and Ortiz, and they're having issues. So honestly, is this a storyline that I care about? Not really. Feels random. I want to see House of Black in the trio scene, so just squash Kingston and Ortiz and get over it so that they can move on and get those titles off of the Young Bucks. Yeah, I spoiled the main event, but we'll be getting there. So after that, we had JS come out, and then Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I love to look at Ricky. I'll stare at him all day, but this was absolutely not needed. At times it was a little funny, but a lot of times it was cringy, so I was over it really quickly. It went on too long. By the time they finished their whole little promo thing and then the commercials, it was like 9:45, 9:46, 7, whatever, and the main event was just getting started, you know. And I thought, wow, that promo could have just been off. Like, we really didn't need it for it to run that long. But moving on to the main event. Oh, before I say that, Ricky wants Jake Hager at Rampage since he put him through a table last week. Yippee. Moving on. So now we have the main event. Real talk, I was sitting there the whole time rolling my eyes to the back of my head. I didn't care about this. We all knew exactly how it was going to end, and automatically it's just a spot fest, and I don't mind that. But to be completely honest, we've already seen them go against each other 7 other times before this match. So now it's just I don't want to say repetitive, but we've just seen too much of them in a 2-month span, where it's just like, it doesn't even, it just was what it was, and everybody knew what was going to happen. And people don't want to talk about this, but CM Punk was right. We knew from the get-go that once they announced that the best out of 7 series thing, that they was going to end up winning it. They didn't want to come back from being suspended to just snatching up the titles. So what they did was they had to work for it, and end up getting it in the end. Now, shout out to Death Triangle for holding it down for these past few months. They've actually done a really great job at being trios champions. However, I'm not really too excited about, you know, the Young Bucks. Young Bucks, I mean, they're great in the ring. I just don't care for them like that. And also, Kenny, you know, he just won that title in Japan a couple of days ago. So I don't know how long they're going to end up having these titles. And if that schedule will, I don't want to say be an issue for with being a trios champion. But hopefully I'm praying that the House of Black will snatch those off of them very soon, at least by the next pay-per-view. And yeah, that would be great. So let's move on to talk about a few wrestling news that's just been shaking up the internet these past few days. So it's the morning of January 10th, and I'm so excited because it's my birthday, and I go on Facebook thinking I'm going to see a whole bunch of happy birthdays and all that stuff, and all I see is Stephanie McMahon no longer co-CEO. And I was like, oh, well, that was sudden. And then boom, Vinnie Mac slithered his way right back on the board. And I expected that, but I expected that to happen maybe when the whole allegation thing started dying down, maybe like a year from when he retired. But it's only been about 6 months, not even 6 months, since he had announced his retirement, and he's right back. And what made that interesting is right after that, people started talking about how it was the Saudis that bought WWE. Now, to be completely honest with you, I automatically was like, nah, I don't see that happening, especially so quickly. And people, they're reading the headlines where it says literally rumors, and they're taking it for it being factual. People are literally taking the story and running with it. Those big name wrestling channels and websites, they're the first ones to, you know, do videos and publish blogs about it and stuff without having any actual facts. And that's one thing that I don't like about wrestling fans. Now, I don't know shit about any other sports, but I can guarantee you that other sports don't do this shit where they're just going based off of rumors. There are factual news that get fact checked, rather than in the wrestling world where it's they want to be first to say some bullshit because they know that there's a whole bunch of immature people who's going to believe every single word that they hear. So people have been taking it as if this was an actual transaction between the WWE and the Saudis. Now, to be completely honest with you, I don't think that happened. And if it didn't, WWE will definitely have seen the backlash from the fans. Like, there are so many reasons why it would be controversial for them to buy the company. Would they make changes? Absolutely. They are you know, really deep into their Islamic values, and even many Muslims don't believe in what they believe, you know, those type of oppressions that they have over women, and, you know, basically having men being superior in everything. And they will obviously use religion and politics to get in the way, since that is how they run their country. So we wouldn't be surprised if they would do the same thing with WWE. They would get rid of certain wrestlers for certain reasons, and then women will have to cover up to you know, wrestle, whatever, because even though they would have bought the company, they still would feel like they have to uphold their beliefs within the company as well. Probably not make too much changes, but there will still be a drastic changes for people, especially Americans, where we're used to things being a certain way. And if they were to buy the company, they would make some really crazy changes. And on top of that, a lot of people would just up and leave. Obviously, one of them being Sami Zayn, who's of Syrian descent. He would get his ass up and leave. and many other people I can't really think of. And then there will be some people where maybe they would ask them to leave because of whatever situation. I think it would be super messy if it were to be them. Honestly, I thought maybe NBC or Disney would be the two top runners for purchasing the company, but at this point I would have loved to see a company that knew about wrestling and how it works, and that can definitely help with making WWE entertaining again for majority of people. They don't have to bring back the Attitude Era like everybody says, but if it's entertaining where people would actually want to tune in, that would be great. So none of the companies that are on the list that are interested in buying WWE know anything about pro wrestling, and some people even said that they would like for it to be sold to whomever and for it to fail, and so that the wrestling world can go back to territories, and that will absolutely not happen. If anything, a new company will just be started up, or WWE would try again, or people will just be dumping ship to AEW, which already has too many people, too much things going on with the company. Obviously I want to see them succeed, but WWE, it's not just about wrestling, it's about the sports entertainment and all this other bullshit that don't necessarily have anything to do with wrestling. So maybe in the long run it will not work out as far as people who watch WWE for its wrestling. So on to even sadder news, we have Ric Flair, who says he's begging to return to the ring. And to be completely honest with you, after that last match he had, people were really concerned about his health. Matter of fact, people should have been concerned about his health before. We had already knew that he had a pacemaker. So one thing that Ricky Steamboat had stated was that, you know, he was looking to have his last match with the Nature Boy. However, once he learned about the pacemaker, he was like, hell to the nah. Like, you shouldn't even be wanting to have a match if you're not in great health. Somehow Rick ended up making it through that match, barely, after passing out like twice during that match, not knowing up from down, east to west, and he made it through that match. And when you hear someone say their last match, especially Ric Flair, who said several times before in the past, you're actually hoping it's his last, especially with those health concerns and his age as well. But he still feel like he has something to prove. Honestly, I think like he's ruining his legacy by doing this shit. He has his whole little podcasting going on. He's running out of his mouth, talking shit and saying things, obviously to bring attention to his show. And I think lately Booker T has been doing the same thing too with his podcast, because I used to watch him a lot, and now I don't anymore, because it seems like he's just saying things just for clicks or something like that. I don't know what its situation is, but no one wants to see Ric Flair in the ring again. I'm pretty sure even his friends, guys in the wrestling business, his families, whatever, all were concerned and probably told him never do that shit again. And if he ends up getting in the ring again, I absolutely would not watch. Anyone who would take on even sponsoring that shit and even airing that shit, they're absolutely exploiting Ric Flair because of his name, and just to bring people over to, you know, watch their stuff. And I think it would be absolutely disgusting for anyone to agree to host Ric Flair's last match once again. So on to the last topic, which is Mercedes Moné not being on AEW. So many people were upset that she did not debut in AEW, and I want to know why anybody was even expecting that. Especially when, like I said before, when it comes to rumors, fans are so quick to believe things. So someone must have said something. People are automatically assuming that because she's a free agent and now she's working with New Japan and everything, that she'll be one of those ones who works with New Japan but also be signed with AEW. And honestly, there's no grounds for anybody to even believe that. We haven't seen or heard anything to show that she would be part of AEW. I did hear that after the match with Britt and Jamie and Saraya and Tony, that people were booing in the audience because they realized that Mercedes wasn't coming out at all. Why is anybody even expecting that? To be honest, would we like to see her in AEW? Yes, but I'm still at the fact that there is just so much people at this roster. I don't know how she'll benefit, because while they're pushing more people onto the roster, they're taking away from a lot of people, and a lot of people with real talent who should be displaying that. But there's just not enough time for AEW to give everyone a chance to be on TV. And I don't know if that would be a good fit for her. If I were her, I would just be focusing on whatever I'm going to do in Japan, and having, you know, nice breaks in between matches, rather than coming onto AEW and probably be featured most nights out of the month, like maybe 3 nights out of the month or whatever, because it's really different in Japan versus how things are in America. So I think maybe she would prefer that type of freedom. I know I would, before jumping into getting into a little bit more hectic schedule with AEW. And even AEW schedule does not compare to how rigorous WWE schedule is. If she were to come, I know that would bring a lot of people to watching AEW, some new people who are absolutely obsessed with WWE, and they'll say that they'll never watch AEW. But I do think she'll bring in a lot of people over to AEW, since they said just her being at Wrestle Kingdom brought in 40,000 new subscribers. That's absolutely insane. I know that's not the only reason why people subscribed, because they did have really great matches on that card, but I would definitely love to see where her career goes from here in Japan, not AEW. Guys, thanks so much for watching my video. I hope I can do this more often, where I can cover what happened at the shows and go over some wrestling news. Thanks for watching.